Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I am Brandon, and today we're gonna do something a little bit different. So we have the other Hoyt from this year. Hoyt released their bows and they pretty much said we have two of the virtually the same bows, one with an aluminum riser, one with a carbon riser for hunters who like the difference, but you're gonna get the same shot experience. So with the aluminums, I went with the longer axle, which is usually my tendency of what I like to do. So we did the Alpha X33, which blew me out of the water. I loved the new features in the cam. I liked it all so much that I wanted to get the RX8 in here as soon as I can and kind of get these both done, just because the Alpha X, man, that's like one of my favorite ones that I've shot this year to date. And then we all know the RX7, when I did my first top 5 bows of that year, the RX7 was #1 by a landslide. I mean, it blew everything out of the water that year to me. And I ended up hunting with it just like this. I had that Trophy Ridge React on there. I didn't have any additional stabilizer. I think I had a ripcord rest, but we'll shoot it with this Whisker Biscuit today. I mean, it just was a perfectly balanced bow just as it is. It didn't need anything else. And I say that after seeing tons of guys. I mean, people will run front, back, low stabilizers. I mean, they kind of dress these things up in all different ways. I promise you, this thing just as it is, to me, it's perfect. And that's kind of what Hoyt's statement said, right? I mean, they ran the same bow for 2 years in a row and said, gosh, we created something that got such good feedback. It's a perfect bow. We're just gonna run it again. And I love that they did that. After kind of helping out in a shop, you kind of see that back end of the bows and how it's kind of hard to keep up with new bows constantly. I love that they gave the shop owners another year to kind of get rid of that inventory, sell more of them. I mean, they were clearly selling these things to run them for a second year in a row. And then here we have the RX8, same riser. Again, I mean, this riser to me is perfect. So perfect that you can tell that Hoyt's they're sticking with it. It is an awesome riser, very lightweight, extremely durable. For a carbon bow, you know, the RX7 was quiet and really good feel in the hand. They say this is even better, almost by 30%. And then they added kind of a new engine on it. So to me, it's like a souped up RX7, which I was so excited about because the RX7 is still something to this day that I absolutely love. You know, you can mix and match their color camo options with the limb and the camo. I love the camo options. We did the ZS1 in that Origin camo, which was absolutely fire. I got the bourbon limbs on here with the wilderness green. And like I just mentioned, I'm just gonna run it with the shortstop stabilizer, nothing else additional. I cannot wait to shoot this. So let's jump into the bow itself. Almost the same specs as it has been for the last couple years. You got 6 1/8 on the brace height, comes in at 4 pounds, 30 inches axle to axle, IBO speed of 342. Okay, now what we did differently with this bow than the last ones is I got this thing in the 70 to 80 pound limb option, which I'm really excited about. So right now I backed it out 3 turns, so it's right at 70 pounds, which this thing actually fluctuates. It says 70 to 80 pounds, but it fluctuates a lot more than that. So it's 70 pounds holding at 12 pounds, which is more like 17%, which is on the 85% let off. So that's kind of where I have it right now. We will do this a single shot assessment just to be comparable to other bows and kind of that standard and that we've set with all of our bows. We'll do the Freestyle Shoot, and then when we do the speed test, we will bump it up. I'll crank those back down. We'll bump it up to 80 pounds. We'll see what it gets with that 500 grain arrow. And then I dressed up a heavier arrow with an iron will that we're gonna shoot through there at 80 pounds and see what it gets. And I did that because you see so many guys shooting these Hoyt bows at 80 pounds. It's always been in the back of my head because it kind of looked effortless. Like, is that 80 pounds? Really? So I wanted to get it in 80 pounds for my own assessment. I wanted to see how these things pull back at 80 pounds. And I promise you, you're gonna be surprised. So jumping to what's new, they did do a new limb pocket and cam system, which is going to play into effect in the vibration and the sound of this bow, which they say they have decreased by a lot. The riser is the exact same, has that Picatinny rail on the front, has your options for the side mounting on the side, same with the rest, front and back integrated. You have both those options. Hoyt bows, as you guys know, have my favorite grip by a landslide. I love the grip, I love the cable guard. They're my 2 favorite things on these bows. They're a solid, sleek. I love the grip, it's so comfortable. I love the grippy texture, even when it gets moist or damp outside, which I hunt in all conditions. So that's something that I enjoy. Also, that kind of warm to the feeling touch, as we all know when you get in those late season hunts like it is right now in January. Happy New Year's, by the way. And then going down, you have your 2 spots for your stabilizers, one top, one below. You can rock 2, whatever you want to do, you can mix match them how you feel. And then it has your side mount right here for your side stabilizer, and then it has your 2 top and bottom pieces for your single or 2-piece quiver that you can mount on there. To me, Hoyts are the epitome of quality and durability, okay? These things, when they come together, they're as solid as you can get, okay? They have new strings, new string dampeners on these, all of which are gonna, again, play into the vibration of the bow, which is decreased, which is kind of the main thing that they did from that RX7. I love the new HBX Exact cams, okay? There's multiple things on them that I like. One, I love 1/4" adjustments. We are gonna see more companies do that across the board. You can really get that perfect, comfortable feel at your draw length. And then when you do like to mess around with let-offs, maybe for different times of the year, or just finding whatever suits you, having those 1/4" adjustments is huge into not sacrificing it all. So if you do like to hold at a heavier weight and you like it at 75, you can add those extra 1/4" increments or even more just to get that perfect feel at your draw length. I love that, okay? And that's something, like I said, I think we're gonna see more and more of. You have your 3 let-off options, which I love, and then also you have this, and that's another thing we didn't do with the Alpha X that we'll do today, is I'm gonna draw back and we will kind of give you an assessment of the hard and the extra hard at holding, which is really just taking your let-off adjustment and switching the one from the bottom to the top and vice versa, and you kind of get different holding feels. And then on the top of the cams, which kind of goes and syncs with their sticks that they have, there's a little knob that is going to protect your strings and cams from making contact with anything on the ground. I love that too. I think that's just a fine detail that everybody has thought of at one point in time, and then finally somebody just added it onto a bow. So I love that as well. I'm gonna go ahead and get to shooting. I wanna shoot a bunch outside. I also wanna come back in and do this multiple speed test that we kind of are gonna do with different arrows, different draw weights, which is something that we really have not done a ton of. So looking back at the RX7, I think the thing that I remember the most is how it held at full draw. It's like when it locks in, it was incredibly stable. It was rock solid. Wherever you moved it, it just sat there. There was no countering. That was like my favorite part about the bow. I really liked the draw cycle with the Alpha X with these new cams. So we'll see with this one. But my first experience with those HBX Exact cams was a great one. So. That's like just, to me, it's exactly what I want to feel. I'm at a point where like, I don't mind, 70 pounds to me feels like 60 pounds now. I feel like I'm a little stronger. It's not something that I ever, that's why I'm excited to pull back the 80 too, because I think I'm gonna be able to do it with just effortlessly now. But this feels like it's 60, 65 pounds. It's nice and linear. Even at the 85% let-off option, there's no hump to get over, there's no drop off, there's no jerk, nothing. And I feel like if you put it at 80, that's only gonna smooth out. So, I mean, from beginning to end, and for them to make this claim that it's 30% more vibration free is a lot, because I thought they did a very good job with the RX7 being a carbon bow that just felt very dead in the hand. I don't think we had the decibel reading when we did that, so we're not gonna be able to compare between the two, but we'll get one on this one today. But this bow is as is, out of the box. I mean, there's not really anything on it extra. They even took the limb dampeners out of the limbs here. No extra stabilization, no extra noise dampening, anything. I mean, this is just, the feel in your hand is awesome. And if you haven't gripped one of these, or you haven't picked up a Hoyt lately with these new grip, this new grip, I mean, there's nothing to me that compares to it. It's the perfect angle, the perfect shape. It molds to your hand. I love the texture of the rubber that's on there. I mean, this to me is a perfect bow. I love the compact. The Ultra is huge. It is a massive carbon bow. It's not for me. But these RX8 at 30 inches, it's one of the best compact, hardest hitting, vibration free. I mean, somebody would think I was a promoter for Hoyt. I've never talked to anybody at Hoyt ever. It's a big company. It's not something you can just crack and go start talking to somebody and they're gonna give you all this feedback and answer your emails. I mean, they don't give a shit. I'm just a little guy, you know, like I was a Matthews guy my whole life. These bows are incredible. Now you're paying $2 grand for them, so that's a lot. I'm not gonna lie, but if you can cough it up, You are getting your money's worth. This thing in 20 years will shoot the exact same, I could promise you. If you took care of it, took care of the strings occasionally, I mean, these bows are something that'll be around forever. To me, it's perfection. For a 30-inch axle-to-axle bow, to me, they hold like a longer, I mean, they hold like it's a 33, 34. I mean, it's rock solid. And that's me, I'm at the longest end. So you got 3 different mods that break this up from 25 to 30, which I love that. And I'll talk about that for a second. So you have the switch weight technology from Matthews, which is gonna give you that peak performance at every single draw length. I prefer this. I love that they do what they do. Hoyt. They break up it into 3 different mods, so you have a little bit of wiggle room to make adjustments. It's nice for reselling purposes, or just in general, you grow a little bit, you know. I haven't grown necessarily, but I think as I've adjusted a little bit. And my 29.5 that I shot with for years, I'm at 30 and I feel the most comfortable now. So just a little bit of wiggle room I like. And then you're also breaking it up so you get more performance at each draw length. Maybe not the top performance, but it's not noticeable, not something you would ever notice. But they're breaking it up so that you get more performance at more positions, which I love. Let's step outside. Let's start shooting this thing, and then let's come back inside and get this speed test. So our freestyle shoot is pretty much just all of the areas that I've set up way before we started doing backyard bows that I would practice from, and one of them is an elevated situation. Most of the shots I'm taking in the field are elevated, and as you guys know, I kind of preach practice how you play. So right here, we built like a box on top of my deck. All these targets down here, we had them from 20 to 30. We even had some up on the hill, but they're kind of assimilating that downward angle, which is what we're gonna start at. And then we'll go to the gazebo, shooting diagonally across the yard with the hillside berm in the background for, you know, safety, and we got all the way up to 50. So here we go. We'll go bore at 25 bucks at 30. The reason I have the bucks, 2 bucks, is I got 1/4 into me, 1/4 and away from me, because man, most of the shots I'm taking in the field and most of the shots I set myself up at is 30 yards. 30 yards is perfect to me. It's a chip shot. It also gives you enough distance between you and the critter you're hunting where you can draw discreetly. You know, you kind of have a little bit of wiggle room where they're not right on top of you at 20 yards. So to me, that's always this is kind of like one of the shots that I seek and set myself up for the most. So we have 1 deer quartering away from me. Perfect. I would say, and I'm so excited to do the Mach 30 because I think it's going to be comparable from other people's reviews, which they don't hold much weight with me. But if it's true, I think it's going to hold very similar. But I think for a 30 inches axle to axle, this is the best holding 30-inch axle to axle bow on the market. And now let's go quartering to me. I mean, there's shots that you have confidence behind. You can place arrows wherever you want to place them with precision and confidence. And then there's other bows after you get out to maybe 40 yards, there's like a wishful factor in there. It's like you're shooting maybe not as confidently, kind of hoping that the shots go exactly where you want them to. And obviously this is a wide spectrum of bows where I feel like this, especially for a shorter axle, is all the way at the very end of just confidence and reassurance. I mean, the precision that you can place this stuff at, when you set up, it's rock solid. It doesn't move. This is, I mean, I said it last time, this is the GOAT. This is the GOAT for me. Just like it is. Nothing else to it. You can't beat this bow. So I'm at the longest end of the draw length on this, so I think it's just going to get better from here. So as solid as it is for me, at 29 inches, 28.5, I mean, this thing is probably dreamy. And I feel like it's a true carbon. You know, you want a carbon bow for that light and durability, kind of going into those field situations where you need that. And then also it allows you to kind of dress it up the way you want, and it's still not getting too heavy. Where this one, I mean, it's a true carbon. You just need just this. Throw a sight. I got a whisker biscuit on here. That's something else for anybody who's new. That's one thing I'm just reassured at all the time, is you do not need a drop away rest. No matter what anyone says, for 40 and under hunting, if a whisker biscuit is what you can afford, go for it. We'll go turkey, which is at 20, and then we'll go all the way up to that elk at 50, 5-yard increments, and we'll just kind of climb this ladder right here. And we go a buck at 30. We got a gray wolf at 35. So I feel like this could be, let me set up for the 40-yard shots. I feel like this could be, it's gonna be above 90 for sure, so on the hair on the louder side. It packs a nice punch. I mean, you can just tell. Without running it through the chronograph, it's probably gonna be in that perfect range for me. Mid-80s is kind of my guess. I'm so excited to get this thing up to 80 pounds and see what it's firing at 80. All right, so now we have the mama black bear at 40, and then we'll do that full draw stall on the bear. So I got it at 85% let off. My holding weight's 11. Not that I'm not looking forward to it, but I think it's a minute is gonna be long, you know, so. On the money. Let's go 1 minute. Little bear, what we call Paddington, full draw stall. Okay, I mentioned this before, but try to be as still as you can. Try not to move. Try to keep those pens as still as you can and see that progression through the minute on how much effort you have to put back into them, how much effort you're having to put into holding it back. It'll all kind of magnify as time goes on. So 1 minute. Man, I can feel it in my neck. It was fine till about 26 seconds. And that's when it kind of was like, you're really putting some effort into holding this back. Again though, the bow, the stability of the bow kind of helped my fatigue, I guess is the way I like to put it. Is some bows, as you get fatigued, they're not gonna help you out. And then some bows, they kind of help you as you get fatigued. So I got one arrow left before we get up to 50. We'll do that bonus shot. Call it a bonus shot because we didn't do it on the first so many reviews, the first 100 reviews. I've always shot at it. I just always jump up to that elk after the bear, but buck, quartering to me, 45. It's kind of a tougher shot. You got to kind of hug that elbow or hug that shoulder. Unfortunately, that's probably going to hit exactly on some shoulder. Recording? All right, so now we're gonna go up the hill at 50. Favorite shot here in the backyard. So if you're new to the channel, what we do with these shots is we're gonna give you all the shots at the first shots on camera, okay? And if you've watched enough of the reviews, you'll notice like I'm struggling to get a group together the first 3 shots at 40 yards or 50 yards. And then some, just a little bit easier to shoot right from the bat. So any of them after a full afternoon of shooting will get that group tighter and tighter, but some you can tell, and this is kind of where we separate the bows, is some it's like it's the bow, you know, and that's kind of like the point of the freestyle shoot, is what bow is going to shoot naturally well from the beginning. You know, can any shooter just pick up a bow and shoot well with it? I think that's what this kind of points out, and to me, Some bows are just better than others. Significantly better. So let's go inside. What I'm gonna do, we'll do our speed test with it at 70. Then I'll crank those back down, 3 turns back, top and bottom. We'll set it at, I think I got 78 when I maxed it all the way out. So we'll go 78 pounds. We'll do the same arrow test, but then we'll throw in a 600 plus grain arrow. See what this thing set at 80 pounds can pump it. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We have our 3 arrows that we've been using in all of these tests. So we're gonna do at 70 pounds, which I still have it, we're gonna do the 500 grain arrow that we're gonna get factor into the testing. I mean, factor into the grade. And then we have a lighter arrow at 440. Okay, and then what I did, and we're gonna use this for the 80 pounds, which will also shoot the 500 grain. And then I put an annihilator on here, okay? So the annihilator plus the brass inserted arrow total comes out to 607 grains. We'll save that one for this baby at 80 pounds. Okay, so 10 feet per second gets you a point. So if this thing gets somewhere between 280 and 290, it's gonna get an 8 out of 10. Okay, if it gets 290 to 300, 9 out of 10. If it gets over 300, we'll give it the 10 out of 10 for the grade. So 70 pounds, 500 grain arrow, 285. Honestly, to me, that is perfection. I can't, a 500 grain arrow at 285 feet per second, this thing to me, it's one of the other factors that I factor into why this thing is just perfection to me. I'm not even gonna shoot it again, 285. So now we have a 440 grain arrow. This is a 400 spine full metal jacket. That's 303. Again, perfection. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put top and bottom. I took out 3 turns. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. So it didn't get all the way to 80, but it got to 78 pounds. So what, I want to give you this on camera too, because it's going to be a different, we'll do like a single shot assessment of it at 80 pounds too. So we'll do our first drawback at 80 pounds on camera. And this is, again, I haven't had a ton of experience with bows at 80 pounds. I've never felt the need to. If you know me, I'm comfort over speed. So I've never, you know, occasionally in a shop if I have the opportunity, but I don't have a lot to compare it to. So I think what I'm anticipating might just be made up. I don't know. Definitely made up. A lot different than what I was suspecting. It's a harder pull, but there's no humps. Like usually when you think of a harder pull, you think, oh man, it's gonna be a really big hump at the beginning or at the end. It's the exact same feel to the draw cycle, but just harder. You know, you're putting more effort into it, but there's still no big dump at the end. There's no big hump to get over. It's pretty much the same effort from beginning to end, which is nice. That's not bad at all, honestly. I was thinking something completely different. Now, full draw stall at 80, that might be totally different, but this, I'm pleasantly surprised. That's not bad at 80 at all. So if you're somebody who is really trying to bump up their speeds, maybe having a shorter draw length, trying to do anything you can, I think trying one of these at 80 pounds could get you where you want to be without too much of a sacrifice. So we'll go back to that first arrow. This is that grading arrow. This is my perfect arrow weight. Got 500 grains. It got 285 at 70 pounds. Now we're at 80 pounds. .300 feet per second. As you just saw a second ago, that 80-pound draw is not nearly what I was thinking. Especially when I compare it to like other bows we've gotten in here that was drawn at 80 pounds, like the King Cobra. That is night and day. Let's do a 440 grain. That went through. That's 316 feet per second. So now let me set this up, and we're gonna give you that 607 grain arrow set at 80 pounds. I'm shooting a broadhead here, so we had to switch up our bag, but I got one of those, I don't know if you've seen these, they're called annihilators. They pretty much bore like a wedge out. They're pretty cool. 607 grains total here. This is at 80 pounds. $273. And this thing is a beast. I'm telling you, the speeds that these get from all different range grains, to me, are always been so impressive. All right, so we'll do our 3 decibel reading shots. I didn't want to do this yesterday. I had to wait till today because it was so blistering cold. I didn't want to open up the garage door, let all that heat out. So we got our bag outside the door. We'll do our 3 shots. I can't wait. That big bag, the like stacked foam bag is coming, which is supposedly supposed to be silent bag. So we'll switch that up here whenever that gets in, but we'll do our 3 shots. I said this outside, and this, I put it back to 70. I would assume, and I guess I can do one, I would assume at 80, it might be a hair louder, but even at 70, it sounded very loud. And usually, I mean, that's upwards of one of the louder bows we've got in here, which is surprising because people associate vibration with loudness a lot of the times, but this bow is very dead in the hand. A really nice feel for a carbon bow, but it has that tennis, I always say it, the Hoyts have like a tennis serve, like a tennis ball sound. It's like a big pop. It's 95, I mean, that's on the louder side for sure. So let's do our last one. That's 93. So yeah, well over 90. And what I've been saying is kind of under 90 would be considered quieter, and then above 90 are the ones that would be considered louder. So feels like full circle. I just looked at the RX7. We did that one of the first bows. It was like one of the first Hoyts we did. So here we are, RX8. 2 things. First, I shoot these, like when I shoot them in the backyard, I gas myself. One, just it's fun for me. I mean, this is my Sunday, you know, so I get to, this is my church. You know, I get to sit in my backyard. You know, in the summer, springtime, I'll garden in between shots. Right now, I'll walk the dogs in between shots. When we have a litter of puppies, I'll play with the puppies in between shots, but I really get after it, and I'll put shots through these bows before this moment. First shot, last shot, rock solid. To me, it's undeniable. I think somebody could pick it up and be like, man, it wasn't as solid as Brandon was saying, but it's solid. I mean, it's not something that I don't think anybody would pick up and be like, that thing just doesn't hold well for me. Same exact speed as the RX7 got, 285 with a 500 grain arrow. And we've used that same arrow since the beginning. So exact same arrow, different chronograph, same speed, 285. Perfection, okay? That was really cool to do the 80-pound option. One, very surprised at the draw cycle at 80 pounds. It was nice. I thought it was gonna be way different. And to see it get the speeds that it's getting is just incredible. To me, I think it's well worth it. If you're shorter draw, use a heavier arrow, whatever it may be, that 80-pound option might come in handy, and I can see why now. There might have been a point in time where I was like, I'd never shoot at 80. I could see me buying the 70 to 80-pound option, and you have both. I like that. This to me is a more complete bow, you know, having that ability to bump up the draw weight for different reasons. So quality, durability, this is peak, 10 out of 10, can't beat it. They are the best quality bows on the market, in my opinion. The carbons from Hoyt, even the aluminums from Hoyt. Appeal, I gave the RX7 a 9. I'm gonna give this one a 10. This is just, it's so sleek. The actual riser has grown on me a ton over these past 2.5 years. I love this one with the mix match limbs. I have seen so many ones that have either been sent from me from you guys or just ones that I have found on Hoyt's page. Like, people dress these up. They are they are sexy. They're just some of the best looking bows you can get. I gave it a 7 for technology. That's a main difference we changed from last year to this year because I gave the RX7 a 9. I'm gonna give this a 7, just kind of comparably on the standards that we kind of set for the new year and what we were wanting to see and achieve. And I think I love the new technology in the cam. I think that's a huge jump for Hoyt. And this is one of my favorite cams, most complete cams that they have put out. And obviously the technology that goes into these risers, it's not new, but that's come a long way, obviously. But I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10 for the technology. This is kind of one of those categories that we butt heads in, me and a lot of you. But technology to me is innovation, new creation. A lot of this, even though it's new to Hoyt's cam system, a lot of that's been out for a long time. So I love the 1/4 inch adjustments. I love the let off play and the different back wall options, stuff like that. I really do love this new cam, but I don't think it's anything that's not already out there. So then comes to performance. And I haven't shot it yet, but I would bet you the Ultra would be right in there with the Ethos and the Ultra X, you know, at that 9.5. I'm gonna give this one a 9. I think it's 10 out of 10 for a shorter axle-to-axle bow. But throwing it into the spectrum with all of the bows, I think it's right there at a 9. One of the best holding bows. Again, the more you were to, you know, balance it out, if you felt the need to, with front stabilizers, back stabilizers, weight here and there, I think it would only get better. I also think that draw length, draw weight options, you know, the lower options, this thing would probably hold even better. So I'm all the way at the tail end at 30, and I think it was one of the best holding bows, and it still is. The RX7, they're unbelievably solid at full draw, which is the only thing that truly matters in the bow hunting world. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found something in this review that you thought was helpful to you in your bow buying process. Or it's New Year's Eve, which marks a huge point for us. We're doing this now for 2 years. We're about to enter our 3rd year, and I keep saying 2023 was the warm-up. You know, we're just getting going. We have a nice stretch here through the winter where we don't have as much workload on our end. So we're really gonna get after it and give you guys what you want and what you've been asking for. Stay tuned for all to come. See you next time.